Well, good day and namaste from Santa Fe. And that is the great Ted Nugent. Nugent. Detroit City Madman. One incredible individual, patriot. In case you haven't seen him, he's got himself a little show. He's, of course, spreading the truth. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. Namaste. I can see that the mouse is actually making a lot more noise than I like. Let's take old Teddy down. Yeah, Teddy's a good man. And I believe that he's going to help a lot here. Anyways, where am I? Oh, I thought I'd start out here. Today's little episode is going to be on New Mexico and some of the mysteries that we have here throughout. I'm starting out here. Let's see if I can actually share my screen and show you where I am. I don't know if this is going to overload a lot of things, but if you can look here, we got Santa Fe, New Mexico. I believe that I got a bird in the background. There we go. And that little red dot is downtown Santa Fe. And we're going to move. That's just not a very good picture. I think my internet might be running a little slow, but let's go ahead and move up to another location here. And Dulce. There we go. Anyway, from Santa Fe, Dulce, New Mexico. It's a quick ride up and down to the little bit east of the Four Corners. And That's where our Archuleta Mesa is. Let's see here. Boom. I'm going to start off with something some of you guys have probably already seen. It is from the History Channel. And everything is moving kind of slow, but we'll just keep going. Oh, that was weird. Might be Google Earth that's slowing everything down.
We're in Dulce, New Mexico, about 200 miles away from Albuquerque. Our goal is to locate a secret underground base where the government reportedly has been housing aliens and carrying out strange experiments.
My name's Ken Storch, and there's definitely something strange going on in Dulce, New Mexico.
My name is Bob. I'm an undercover operative, and Dulce is the ultimate undercover operation.
We're here in Dulce meeting with Bob and Ken, investigators that have been looking into this area for over 10 years now. These guys have made Dulce the central focus of their investigations because they believe something really strange is going on here.
What got you into the Dulce business?
When we first learned about the Dulce papers from this retired Air Force colonel, we were told that there was an underground base here in the Mesa.
The Dulce papers surfaced in the 1980s, and they documented the levels of experimentation going on at that secret base. They also talked about a fight.
We're here at the base of Archuleta Mesa to meet with archaeologist Garth Baldwin to discuss the geological makeup of the mesa and see if it's even possible that an underground base could be built here.
Garth, we're here at the base of the Archuleta Mesa, inside of which there's reputed to be a top secret base for genetic engineering. I guess the question for all of us is, what kind of engineering would it take to have created such a base inside the Earth? Can you tell us about the rock formations and what kind of rock we're dealing with?
Up on the mountain where you do find soil, it's between 1 foot and less, and then it's just bedrock. The upper strata up there that you can see exposed is a columnar basalt. That's much too fragmentary for any kind of drilling or anything out. It makes great fence posts, but it wouldn't necessarily support being ground out inside. But below that, there's layers of basalt that are more structurally sound. There's also sandstones below that.
It sounds like top layer, very, very difficult to drill through.
They'd have to start at the bottom of the mesa or near the bottom of the mesa where there's a stable strata of rock that they could get into.
Let's just say you were hired by the government to design an underground base. Would there be any reason for you to pick Archuleta Mesa?
Mesa. So you've got a starting point where you know where the stratigraphic layers of rock are, so you've got a structure to begin with.
According to the specifications that we've been given for this base,
How much of a diameter does this have right here?
The base can extend up to 4.87 miles.
4.8 miles, is that correct?
4.8 miles diameter.
That's the diameter of the base.
That's about the size of the mesa. That would fit within the structure that you're talking about.
Garth is telling us that Archuleta Mesa actually has the size to house something of this magnitude. And while I don't necessarily believe yet that there is a base inside the mesa, it's good to know that the possibility of it being there is real.
It's conceivable that they're coming in through tunnels and actually drilling out the space for this underground base from the bottom up.
If that technology were true, then that would be possible. The human species has such a knowledge of mining and structural engineering that I'm not surprised by anything that our engineers can do.
I'm really happy to hear Garth's feedback about what the makeup of the mesa. And it does seem like he thinks it is possible to have an underground base there, even given the massive size of this thing.
Garth said he didn't know what kind of technology we had that can do this kind of drilling in an expeditious way, but John Rhodes showed us that technology exists today. Therefore, it's quite possible we are standing in the shadow of the Dulce base.
Well, that was from the History Channel. And of course, you got to take most of what's being reported from there as, with a little bit of a grain of salt. I put that up just to kind of get out there shall we say, let's go back over here. Anyway, there's a lot of controversies, obviously, about the Four Corner area of New Mexico. And let's see if I can put this up here. And that one just kind of gives you an idea of what's been reported on a pretty good sized channel. Dulce, New Mexico, if I move this thing out here, you can see our Four Corners. Wait a minute. Yeah, it should be Four Corners. Over there. That's not a bad picture after all. Hickory, yeah. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the mesa. Interesting to use Google Earth. A lot of things that you can find that make a lot of sense. And I'm not sure exactly which one is the Hickory Nation. I'm still learning. Let's go on into the Drud report. And this is fairly interesting. I'm sure we'll start off with the commercial that I'll have to mute. Or did it take it down? No.
Are we alone in the universe? Recently declassified communications and videos are giving us an unprecedented look into how the government handles these sightings, but there is no definitive answer to the question. No matter how much grainy footage is released, we still don't know what might be in our skies. In 1979, Paul Bennewitz was trying to solve this timeless question. He was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and working as a scientist. On the cool and clear desert nights, he began seeing mysterious lights in the sky. He was living near the Kirtland Air Force Base and right across from the Monzano storage area, the U.S.'s largest nuclear storage facility. To him, the location of these nighttime visitors was not a coincidence. He began filming the lights in the sky. Subsequent theories state that Bennewitz was probably seeing the first ever tests of unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs. Whatever he was filming, theories say the government needed him to stop. Bennewitz was undeterred. In the years that followed, Bennewitz would discover one of the biggest conspiracies in ufologist circles. The more Bennewitz discovered, the farther he spiraled down into a dark and inescapable place. Was Paul Bennewitz mad, or did he find something that was never meant to be found? The story goes that Bennewitz had somehow accidentally tapped into an encoded communications line at the Kirtland base. He was receiving genuine coded messages. He was sure that the messages were extraterrestrial in origin. Bennewitz soon received a top-secret communication. He never divulged where it came from, but it told him that there was a secret underground base in Dulce, New Mexico. In the halls of ufology, Dulce Base is a very real and very dangerous place. An underground joint base shared by extraterrestrials and the U.S. military. It's home to inhumane and cruel human experimentation. In the years since Benowitz's discovery, many people have come forward to claim that they have been in the Dulce base. Theories say Benowitz was being misdirected. His focus on Dulce pulled his attention away from Kirtland. Many believe that Air Force counterintelligence officer Richard Doty was the man who fed Benowitz the information about Dulce. Many believe that after Benowitz discovered the encoded communications at Kirtland, that Doty was put on him to make sure he believed he was dealing with aliens. It would have been a huge blow to Cold War America if Benowitz started leaking legitimate state secrets. It was much easier to just let Doty push Benowitz further into his alien theories. In 1988, Benowitz wrote a paper called Project Beta. It detailed how exactly to go about attacking and exposing Dulce Base. He took this information to the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, who brushed him off as a delusional paranoid. From 1979 through 2003, the alien visitations to Benowitz became more frequent and intense. He reported seeing orbs of light in his home. He repeatedly complained of daytime alien flybys. He would produce strange wounds on his body and claim that he was being injected in his sleep by aliens. None of the evidence has ever been corroborated by trusted witnesses. Benowitz couldn't handle the stress. He wasn't eating, he wasn't sleeping. Every day had become a fight for survival against an enemy that most people didn't even believe existed. Benowitz was committed to a mental institution no less than 3 times before 2003. He began correspondence with Krista Telton, an alleged alien abductee who believed her child was of half-alien ancestry. Her conversations with Benowitz and other alleged eyewitnesses were published in her book, The Benowitz Papers. This book claims that Dulce was very real. One witness stated it was his job to wrangle staff that wandered into the alien-run areas of the base. Whether or not Benowitz's deteriorating mental state was caused by clandestine government operations is still up for debate. We're stuck with many different theories. Some have gone full in on the government angle. They claim that agents went so far as to install artificial above-ground vents in Dulce to reinforce the idea that there was a massive base underneath the town. Some claim that everything that Benowitz found out about aliens is true and that the government had no hand in it. UFologist William Moore has admitted that during this time period he was trying to push Benowitz into a mental breakdown by feeding him false information. Doty has also publicly stated that he fed incendiary information to Benowitz, but that he was not specifically singled out. He states that he was instructed by his higher-ups in the military to infiltrate gatherings of ufologists to spread false and misleading information. In 2003, after years of stress and pressure, Benowitz broke. June 23rd, he took his own life. Or did he? The life and even death of Paul Benowitz is shrouded in mystery. For every confirmed detail we have about his life, we have 10 to 20 theories. Some claim that Benowitz is still alive today, being held in Dulce Base, the place he helped expose to the ufologist community.
Yes, sirree. There's another conspiracy there. In case you hadn't figured that one out, I tell you straight up, I'm trying to get this out there and figure out how all this stuff works. Anyways, images. I keep going there. Downtown. No, Google Earth. Okay. So that's Dulce, New Mexico. I put that up there because, I'm sitting here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I have a base here. They call it a laboratory. It's Los Alamos, 41 miles northwest. And then south of me is another interesting, shall we say, laboratory called the Sandia Laboratory. If I were to move up here to Images. Well, let's just see. I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. Y'all might have heard of FreeSpoke. I've never used it. I just pulled it up. And let's just see what dumb base tunnel map. Let's make it spam with an S. And list, let's make it a shortcut to images. Well, there you have it. Now, this isn't as easy to find on Google, but you can find it. One of the most popular moved around maps. I kind of like this black one, but let's go back here. I need to get something quieter to work this mouse on. I'll just use my hand. This one, right? Well, it doesn't really matter which one of these maps I go to, but it is nice that this new, let's see what page 2 looks like. I'm looking for a particular one. Bear with me, we'll move along here. There's a particular one that really emphasizes New Mexico as being, let's try that, New Mexico. Yeah, maybe that's the best one. These used to be real hard to find. But these are supposed to be the oldest tunnel systems. And imagine that they were, say, this is a map from the 40s or 30s or 50s, whatever, it doesn't matter. If these were made by Technical Instruments, which according to my information we've had for a while, this would be like your main highway system. But there are other maps that break this thing down to where they're just all these other roads of tunnels. And, you know, for some reason or another, New Mexico has been an area, a stopping point, no matter what. It seems to be like the Graham Central Station. And let's just see what, this is a local news report from one of our local stations. I think it has to do with Dulce. Of course, there's going to be a commercial, so we'll turn that off for a second because it looks like I might be running more than I should. This might not work. Yeah, I just bought my wife an electric bike. Whoa!
Dulce is a quiet, unassuming town nestled in northern New Mexico. Many of its residents are members of the Jicarilla Apache tribe. They swear.
I tell stories, but my nose isn't growing.
They are not making this up.
They threw down a ladder from that spaceship, and then 2 small people started climbing down.
Jerry Julian says she had her first extraterrestrial encounter right here on her Dulce ranch about 40 years ago.
It was huge. I just saw the bottom of it. You know, it was like flat like this.
Many of her neighbors claim similar strange sightings.
Fat in the middle and kind of like rounded on the sides. You're speechless, you know? You just don't know what to think, you know? It's just like, it's like nothing you've ever encountered before.
Why are stories of the extraordinary ordinary here?
I do not know. I do not know. Probably kind of that big mountain we have right there, you know.
Rumor has it there is a secret base hidden underneath the Archuleta Mesa here. The mountain overlooks Dulce. Some people in town say the base is run by aliens working with our federal government to conduct mind control and genetic experiments. Do you believe that?
Yeah. Well, a whole bunch of people seen it, you know.
Like the ground opened up, steam coming out of it.
They also claim they've seen some creatures cooked up in those experiments, like Bigfoot and something half human.
Down this way, the waist down, it's a goat. It has a tail. But up here, it's a man.
People tell me Dulce wasn't always a center for supernatural activity, but then sometime in the 70s, things changed. That's when cows started turning up mutilated.
They just cut out in between the legs right here. We've seen one.
I know it's not a predator it's doing it. Someone's doing it.
Local police never definitively said who's to blame. Locals say it has to be something out of this world. And since then,
I was taking a random picture, zoomed it in, and there was a UFO right there.
they say they know it sounds crazy.
They're just going to ask me, well, how much did you drink or what did you drink?
I'll submit to a lie detector test or anything, you know.
But say it's the truth. Question is, do you believe?
Anything possible these days now.
In Dulce, Megan Cruz, KOAT Action.
Yeah, that's interesting. Don't you say that that's so interesting. Yeah, we've had
7 News.
Oops, sorry about that. A lot of
Want to insure your house?
Cut it out. Yes, folks, I'm still learning. Oh my goodness, sorry about that. I think I hit the wrong button again. Okay, we're going to try this one more time. All right, so anyways, yeah, those couple of clips. I'm directing us only to Dulce because I pretty much covered the biggest story, the Roswell interview, in a 16-part 6-video previous. If you haven't seen it, I guess it's still available on Twitch to watch, or you can find the almost 5-hour interview yourself and go through it at your own will. But you know, that was a subject, and I thought, well, you know what, we got a lot of things going on here, and a lot of things that some know about, and I showed those maps there because if you look closely, they're just not, you know, just because, that doesn't look that great. I guess if I share my screen, it would help. But, you know, these so-called military tunnel system is not just the United States, although you can see patterns here going throughout the United States. But from my understanding and my information, they're worldwide. Something about an 800-mile crust and tunnel systems that over thousands of years have, you know, I've been told that the ancient ones, a lot of them were formed naturally, but well refined to be usable for whatever was going on back then. We're going to find out that there's a whole system of trade that has been going on through these systems in the dark of the public's knowledge. And it does tie into what we would call the alien situation. I think what we're going to find in the long run is that, you know, that they're not as much from out there as always been here in higher frequencies and lower frequencies. You know, not to say that there's not an out there, but we've got a lot to discover about what's just in this realm that we exist in at the moment, at least in this time. Here is something that touched, of course, that last video touches on Colorado too. That's another kind of story, but I can't remember who did this one. Things are moving. Looks like
it's not quite up there.
Report. Let me turn the volume back on. Full screen it. I don't know when this was, but this is also what happened.
This is an iPhone 11 Pro from Backmark.
That wasn't supposed to happen, and I don't really know what happened. So nice to be Okay, that's stuff there.
They specialize in refurbished devices that feel like new as second.
Dulce is a quiet,
No, we've already done that. Dadgummit. And
It's not quite up there with the 1947 Roswell incident, but the cow mutilations of the 70s remain one of New Mexico's biggest mysteries. Now there's a new book about it, and the author says he knows exactly what happened to all those cows. News 13's Amanda Goodman has the story. Amanda?
Jess, the book was written by the son of the lead New Mexico State Police investigator. A warning, some of the images are graphic.
A lot of the cattle were found with broken bones. They were found with harness marks because they were being lifted in some type of harness or clamp marks on their hooves or legs.
That was life for ranchers in northern New Mexico in the mid to late 1970s. Cows were turning up dead, their carcasses mutilated, and no one knew why.
People need to know what really happened, and hopefully this book will set the record straight.
Greg Valdez is the author of Dulce Base, a new book about the cow mutilations. His dad, Gabe Valdez, was the lead investigator on the case for state police back in the 70s. The book is made up of his old case files.
The evidence in the book will show that humans were involved in the mutilations.
Officer Valdez's theory that government agencies were snatching the cattle for super secret Cold War experiments at an underground base in Dulce.
Ranchers would routinely see them at night, before they went to bed. And then the next morning they would find them dead in the field or the pasture.
Officer Valdez believed these government agencies returned the cattle to perpetuate the theory that aliens were responsible, to shield themselves from suspicion.
The more people look in the wrong direction towards aliens and stuff that's not supported by evidence, no one will ever be held accountable, and it'll just be a mystery.
It's a move Valdez's son says has worked for the last 4 decades, and something he hopes the book will put an end to.
Someone should be held accountable.
Some of the other theories about what happened to the cattle included alien abductions, that the cows simply died of natural causes, and predators were responsible for the mutilation. Valdez says all evidence suggests humans were the ones responsible. Jess?
Yeah, it's the humans. It always is the humans. I'm telling you straight up, there's no conspiracy here whatsoever. I'm pretty sure they died of natural causes. And of course, don't worry about the innards being replaced.
Okay, Amanda, Gabe Valdez died 2 years ago. His son says he doesn't think the government will ever own up.
Wow, this is really strange. Okay. So yeah, all right, so up to this point, we've kind of focused on the fact that, yes, I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and there's a place called Dulce, New Mexico, that is about this far away. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen, am I? Dadgummit. Yeah, I think we're going to have to get rid of Google Earth because it's taking up too much something. Anyways, so let's go ahead. Anyway, my point is that, wow, there it still is. There's a lot of controversies. Everyone says there's an alien base up there. It's deep underground. It's a military base, and they do a lot of weird experiments and abductions and DNA, blah, blah. I mean, I think you even heard one of them talk about some kind of an animal body, a goat, I believe, and a different type of body on the top. Anyway, it sounds kind of crazy that they would ever even consider doing that kind of stuff. But there's another part of the conspiracy, and that is that
It's not quite up there with the 1947 Roswell incident, but the cow mutilations of the 70s remain one of New Mexico's biggest mysteries. Now there's a new book about it, and the author says he knows exactly what happened to all those cows. News 13's Amanda Goodman has the story. Amanda?
Excuse me. Aliens working with humans, and the story that Phil Schneider has backs up a lot of interesting local, I don't know what the word is. Anyhow, the bottom line is it's starting to look that way. I've got another thing regarding some of the, you see, like I said, I get a lot of rumors from people that have retired, that have worked at certain laboratories. They're, conspiracies, whatever. I mean, if you want to call it a conspiracy, call it a conspiracy. If you want to call it a myth, call it a myth. But a lot of these conspiracies,
these amazing LED light bars bring any dark space to life and cost just $40. No wires.
They don't get spread anywhere but locally. Let me see if I can.
This is like something.
Okay, let's get this up here. This is another local report. This man is retired. I don't know what he's doing, so this goes back a couple years. Let's turn on the sound. Am I back on? Good.
Something from a James Bond movie, a secret tunnel underneath a secret city. There have been rumors for decades about mysterious activity in a man-made cave hundreds of feet beneath Los Alamos. Well, the rumors are true. There is a tunnel. Tonight, News 13's Katie Kim is on special assignment inside the secret site that no outsiders have ever seen.
It's been whispered about for more than 60 years.
They would keep gold in there. That's all I remember people saying.
Something secret lies deep in the Los Alamos Canyon.
I've heard about it, yes, but I don't know about it. Just that it exists.
There was a rumor that there was a train in here because when you were up on top, you could hear sort of strange noises.
From a passageway for a secret underground train to a mine full of precious metals, the stories of what was buried in the canyon were endless. And unless you worked at the National Lab, it's remained one of the best kept secrets in New Mexico since the 1940s.
No one's been in this vault. The public has not been in this vault. There's been no media ever in this vault.
Until now. Our cameras were given the very first look inside the carved out canyon rock.
We are going in about 230 feet.
Some call it the invisible tunnel. Very few people knew it actually existed, even though it sits in the heart of the city. Today, a popular city landmark marks the spot.
We're pretty much underneath the McDonald's parking lot.
Right in the center of Los Alamos, hundreds of feet below ground. The tunnel was built just as the Cold War began. The year was 1948.
The atomic bomb is very dangerous. Since it may be used against us, we must get ready for it.
A history lesson today, but in the late 40s and 50s, at the height of the Cold War, the threat of a nuclear strike was very much a reality. The entire town of Los Alamos was off limits back then. Visitors needed a government pass to enter and exit.
And a lot of the 1950s buildings here in Los Alamos were designed with fallout shelters.
The tunnel was built to serve as a safe haven in case of nuclear war. But in the meantime, lab scientists worked down here in secrecy, studying and developing new weapons, like the hydrogen bomb. And this underground tunnel was the first place in the country to store the parts for those weapons.
In the earliest years of the Cold War, they didn't have a facility for that. So this vault was built specifically for those pits.
Los Alamos Canyon provided the perfect hiding place.
Because of the cliffs that we have here, the volcanic tuff, and the setup with the canyon walls.
Plutonium pits and other weapons parts were flown into Albuquerque's Kirtland Air Force Base, then transported to Los Alamos and driven straight into the tunnel.
It's a vault within a vault.
The materials were stored in these 5 vaulted rooms. The federal government only recently declassified the tunnel because some of the old weapons parts remained in the vault as recently as last fall. Lab experts used them as teaching tools in the post-Cold War era. But Lanel historian Ellen McGee says the weapons parts kept here were so secret, they are still considered classified information today.
No one could come down the canyon, so this was a top secret and very heavily guarded facility.
The guards and weapons are now gone, and all that remains is an empty shell. But historians say the tunnel vault is still valuable for future generations.
This facility is really symbolic of this early Cold War secrecy and and security. That, to me, it tells a story.
On special assignment, Katie Kim, KRQE News 13.
KRQE News 13, coming to you live from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and still under deep state control, so don't expect any real news out of them for now. Sorry. I'm just a little, oftentimes I think about how if you only got an antenna, you are really behind the 8-ball in this disclosure thing.
The feds have declassified the tunnel in order to cut the
yes.
cost of maintaining the once heavily guarded facility. Historians hope to get it listed on the National Register of Historic Places, but there are no current plans to open it for public tours. It'd be cool to go down there and see that place. Very cool.
Oh, yes, it will be open for public tours. I know some things, well, let's just say that are coming. A lot of disclosure has already happened. A lot of information is already available. And as this movie unfolds, you're going to actually be able to find things a lot easier. And, you know, that's kind of one of the reasons I'm curious about this new Free Spoke search engine that I'm hearing from other patriots. Is this going to be maybe one of the first places where it becomes easy to see more documentation in an easier to consume way? You know, it's like going back to tunnels. You know, if you don't know, Elon Musk has been trying to expose to us a boring machine that they've been using for quite some time. I don't believe he's the inventor of it. No, I believe that this is something that's been used for a long time. It literally, I'm not exactly sure if I could even begin to explain it, but it does have to do with Tesla's 369 and frequency, sound, and energy. But anyway, I mean, from what I understand, this boring machine can roam 6 miles a day, or it might even be more than that. And it literally takes the matter in front of it and vibrates it it just melts it, and then, you know, creates this tunnel made out of whatever was in front of it. It would look like concrete, but it'd have a perfectly smooth finish and, you know, be, you know, just absolutely ready for rail system. And with a magnetic rail system that was driven by some theories I've heard about, you know, I've been told there's a tunnel that can get you across the United States on one of these trains, and say from San Diego all the way to New Hampshire or something. I think there's a spot where it runs all the way in like 23, 28 minutes, something like that. So, you know, you can understand that they're trying to transition us into electric everything because they've been hiding free zero point energy and many, many other energy devices that can easily sustain our homes, our environments, our lifestyles, and whatnot. But, you know, it's Tesla's problem. The original Tesla was the deep state couldn't put a meter on it because they didn't have the technology nor the infrastructure to put a meter on everybody's house. So they figured if they could wire everybody's house, they could control the input of energy, and that's what they've been doing. But, you know, these energies, it's not that they have to be invented, although we may end up going that path because it appears that that's kind of what they want us to do. And it doesn't matter, because once we get to free energy, then, you know, we are in the first step of the golden age where, you know, we live and love and we become the God creators that we were always intended to be, instead of a bunch of workers in a so-called prison planet. Let's go back over here and see, what did I have next? Secrets found in the CIA. Should we do that one? You're going to find out that these three-letter agencies, they've been part of the deception because they've been part of the connection. Controlled? Yes. Big players? Yes. exposed now? Yes. And there's a big connection because, the number one employer in New Mexico is the federal government. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but
Microgreens are the easiest
that we really need to take control of
and most profitable crops you can grow. You can go from seed to finished product within 10 days from your
dark anymore. And I believe this is a bunch of information. It's 2017. I'm pretty sure when this came out that everybody ignored it and nobody's really bothered to look up any of this information. But I'm going to throw it back out there because this is the state I live and love in, and I want it to be a part of the new golden age. So here we go.
The CIA's secrets are out. No longer do you have to travel to the National Archives. The largest collection of declassified CIA records is now online. The 12 million pages reveal a lot about our state's history and national security. News 13's Aaron Drawhorn uncovers the CIA's New Mexico files.
A modern search at CIA.gov is living history, spanning the world, including New Mexico.
And what do we have over here?
Well, this is kind of mementos from my service at the agency.
Emil Nakle spent 16 years in charge of political Islam at the Central Intelligence Agency. He now heads the Global and National Security Policy Institute at UNM.
Why is the public intrigued with the CIA? What is it?
A clandestine operation or government agency is always kind of an anomaly in a democracy.
Decades of declassified documents pertain to New Mexico, especially with our military installations, Sandia National Laboratories and Los Alamos National Lab, and New Mexico's role developing the atomic bomb.
New Mexico has 2 world-class labs in science and technology.
Documents reveal government concerns about the spies who spilled atomic bomb secrets, including Ethel Rosenberg's brother, David Greenglass, who handed over top secret info to the Russians from his Albuquerque boarding house. From the past to the present.
The issue continues to be important till this very day because other countries, including Iran or North Korea and other countries, remain interested in what we do here in New Mexico, in these 2 labs.
And you can't talk about New Mexico and the CIA without the celestial curiosity.
How to investigate a flying saucer.
Yes.
The CIA kept tabs on the story of Lonnie Zamora.
I got scared and started running back.
The Socorro police officer in April 1964 had one of the best documented UFO sightings ever. Just a small part of 12 million pages of cables, periodicals, and memos.
And they touch on every important subject from the 40s until the 90s.
Aaron Drawhorn, KRQE, News 13.
Beyond New Mexico, the CIA's 12 million posted pages touch on topics from the president's intelligence briefings, starting with JFK, to psychic experiments to torturing terror suspects. Get started on your search. Go to krqe.com or the KRQE News app.
Well, isn't that interesting? A little connection with the CIA, and I like the fact that they say they've been working with the UFO subject from the beginning. Very cool. Anyways, getting back to the tunnel systems. Here's something I think that's going to be kind of cool. I didn't really finish on this, but you see them trying to push us into electric everything, and you heard my opinion. You can call me a conspiracy theorist. This is just my thoughts, but just imagine if they had a little device that could power through a specific type of technology, which in the wrong hands is very, very dangerous. But that little device can create enough energy to power Los Angeles and San Diego. And they were able to place that somewhere underground and tie it into these energy transfer stations. And that energy comes out through all the lines, underground, above ground, however it is, through that little meter on the side of your home. And then that little payment check thing comes in the mail once a month and says, you need to pay this for this amount of energy that you used. No more. Yeah, right. That's another subject. But anyway, imagine if they were doing something like this. Imagine if they, all this money going into who? You can do the dive. You can find out who is the primary owner of your energy companies wherever you are. And you will see that if my theory conspiracy is true, for a very, very long time, it may be that energy has been transferred from a zero cost, I'll use that word, to a massive amount of untraceable money. I mean, if you're paying somebody for something that it costs them nothing, everything that they say it costs to produce that is money missing. So you can take that conspiracy theory, you can shove it in your pipe and fire it up, or you can take a shovel and a map, which I just gave you, and you can do a little digging. But with that in mind, the transition is on purpose, that we are going from combustible gasoline, fake oil, fake bull energy, which has never been good for the planet, but it was very easy to monetize. We're going from that to free energy. That's the only thing that makes sense, that everything is being pushed towards electric. So whether that's in the next year or the next 20 years is up to the people. It's up to the collective. It's up to you guys to finally take a look at this and say, wait a minute, this don't make sense. And what? But you got to kind of find it. The truth cannot be taught. It can only be learned. And this is my opinion. It's a conspiracy theory, I am sure. But I've done a lot of diving into Tesla, the man, not the car company or Elon Musk. And I tell you straight up, most of everything you hold in your hand, the technologies you use, the things that make life so easy, came from the man, not the car company. And wouldn't surprise me a bit if all this free energy and all these different things that I have seen are going to reappear pretty fast. And it's not a massive snowball of technology. It's a disclosure of hidden things that have been around for a long time. I've said before, and I'll say it again, I don't believe in science fiction. You get rid of the fiction part and the things that you've seen on television. If they're not going to be presented to you in this lifetime, fine, but they're not new and they're not science fiction. It doesn't matter. Maybe some of the creepy looking aliens that you've seen in your movies and whatnot, that might be, fiction. But the technologies you've seen, I don't even care what it is. I'm sorry. I have not yet seen any kind of technology in a movie or a sitcom or anything in a book. I've not seen anything that I know exists. It's not being in this realm, in this control system, in this prison planet. We're not allowed to play with those kind of toys because we'll blow ourselves up. It comes down to the 0 point energy. It's very dangerous. But when we raise our consciousness up high enough, and we would never ever harm anything that has life, this becomes an energy that, well, just do your own diving. Do your own diving. Figure it out, because it's not that hard, and it's not that, this is the first lifetime where I can sit here and say, hey, guess what? I ain't getting killed this time. I'm telling the truth. I'm telling my truth, and I don't expect it to fit into anybody else. I do want people to start thinking about who they are, because once we figure out who we really are, everything changes, because we're in control of this matrix and nobody else is. And
Here's why I threw away all my blood.
Just because some people on this planet had the wisdom, I shouldn't say that, but the knowledge to figure out how to get the collective to do what it wants and create a realm of reality that they wanted, not what we wanted, but we're the creators, so until we figure out
Pressure meds.
Drinking this before bed can lower blood pressure by 26 points. If you're over 50,
was not right.
Bridge
was not something we had to be in. It was a decision, though quite a deception. Okay, Ancient Aliens, History Channel. This is interesting. I don't know if I'll play it all the way through. I think I watched it all. Let's see what it has to say.
Port, Connecticut, 1953. Albert K. Bender, the nation's top UFO investigator, receives a threatening visit that will bring his research to an abrupt and premature halt.
Albert K. Bender founded the International Flying Saucer Bureau. This was during the big UFO flap of 1952 when flying saucers were witnessed over Washington, D.C. and many other areas around the world. And this organization blew up big within that first year. However, just a year later, he suddenly ended the International Flying Saucer Bureau, and people wondered why. And what happened was that he came home one night, went into his bedroom, and suddenly these three dark, shadowy figures materialized through his wall into his bedroom. They were wearing the hats and the overcoats. They had glowing eyes, and they smelled like sulfur.
According to Bender, the three entities communicated with him through telepathy, warning him to discontinue his UFO research and stop publishing his influential magazine, The Space Review. Afterwards, he became ill and didn't eat for 3 days.
After this experience, Bender was repeatedly visited. He said they gave him headaches, they controlled him telepathically, and he ultimately gave up his UFO researches and stopped publishing the Space Review, in which he documented UFO sightings throughout the world.
He told the people that had been subscribers and he was working with, they told me, we come from a very, very far distant place in this universe. And we have been coming and going from your planet for some time, and we cannot allow you or anyone to interfere. And in fact, we have taken many humans from this planet to cover up our operations until we are done.
This is a very influential point in our history, especially in the ufology community, in which shadow entities interfered and thwarted somebody's research and possibly set the field back a number of years.
The visitors Albert Bender encountered matched descriptions of what is today known as the Hat Man, but he called them by another name, the Men in Black. While the Men in Black are often portrayed in pop culture as government agents, many who claim to have encountered them believe they are something other than human.
The Men in Black are mysterious and nefarious entities. They're shadowy, they wear black clothing. Many people believe that they're either extraterrestrials or somehow they're working for extraterrestrials to prevent humans from learning the truth about extraterrestrials on Earth.
They talk to UFO witnesses. Some people have reported they seem to not know things that are common, like which end of a pin to use, or if they're offered something to eat or drink, they don't know how to eat or drink it.
Both the Hat Man and the Men in Black are known for wearing a hat. They both influence people telepathically. They both appear to be sometimes malevolent, and they could in fact be the same type of a being. There's a theory that the Hat Man and the Men in Black are actually the ringleaders of the shadow people, and that in fact they direct the shadow people to influence humans in particular to keep them from investigating UFO experiences.
There's no question that the stories of shadow people, Men in Black, and other visitations are all mixed in together. Are they the same? Possibly. But what I think what is really happening on this planet is mass hysteria of real events that are happening to real people, and they can't understand what's going on. Who knows what's happening?
Who knows what's happening? What's going on, dude? What's really going on? Let's see what we can find of. Excuse me. That was a good hit. See what we can find on Phil. Phil Snyder, interesting character. We do have photos. That's good. One thing I'm not sure I like about this, well, I guess I'll figure it out. Looks like, yeah. Problem is, I can't see how long each video is. Kind of interesting. I do like the fact that they did find something. I went into Google. Well, let's make sure we don't have one more to play. Let's just do this 1 minute final video. Well, it's not really. It's not really the final video, although I am at an hour. Apparently, we've got some internet issues. So maybe.
In 1947, two craft crashed into Mexico. They collided, and one crashed near Corona, New Mexico, which is public record. The second craft crashed way out west of Magdalena, New Mexico, and that wasn't found until 2 years later. But the one that crashed in Corona, they also found a live alien. That live alien was named Eva, and he was transported to, it was a male, was transported to Los Alamos, where he lived out his life. He died in 1952. But during that time period that he was with us, he told us a plethora of information about what they have learned about the universe and what their technology is. Their technology is probably estimated to be about 50,000 years ahead of us.
Yeah, streaming 50,000 years in my rear end. And of course, I don't know if I agree much about the male and female, what that gentleman said, because did I miss more? Now streaming. That's just a commercial, I guess. Anyways, my understanding is, you know, as an immortal spiritual being that I am, and I believe all of you are, when I'm not in a body of choice, male or female, I'm not male or female. And my logical mind says that an extraterrestrial would not.
You might have seen videos like this before.
Gosh, turn that off. An extraterrestrial, in my opinion, would not be male or female unless you could really tell.
In 1947, two craft crashed into Mexico. They
ball of worms, or can of worms, I guess you would call it. Anyway, I think that was the last of what I was going to pull from the this platform, which I hope to see not be the platform of choice in the future. Now, what do we have here? Yes, this is going to be just a quickie to introduce you. This hour series, which I'm a little over now, as I'm hoping to set up a schedule and continue to do, will be Mysteries in New Mexico. I kind of started with Phil, not with Phil, but with Dulce, New Mexico, just because it just, you know, as I did my research, that's kind of where I started and where I was led to. Most of you have heard of Phil Snyder. If I remember going back, I got turned on to him, I think it was like in the 80s maybe. But I don't believe a lot of his information made it to mainstream till mid to late 90s, and the more and more of him going out there and putting out his story, the he expired, and I don't know, it's turned out to be some kind of a tale. But anyway, let's just listen to this real quick before I end this episode.
Here are the facts. Humankind has scattered underground bunkers across the world. While many are privately owned shelters, often relics of Cold War fears, others have been built for more altruistic purposes. Consider the Global Seed Vault, a growing repository of seeds owned by the Norwegian government. But the idea of underground bunkers generally brings other things to mind. Not a Noah's Ark of produce or a family's subterranean panic room, but the idea of secret military bases. How many deep underground military bases, or DUMBs, exist? Here's where it gets crazy.
Well
no
over
one knows
4,000.
for sure. Or if they do, no one's talking. There are lists of the world's alleged sites, but they are all of varying credibility, and none of these have been verified by any current government. You'll find surprisingly little verified information about these bases in general in the public sphere, and in the absence of solid information, rumors flourish. These claims range from the dangerously plausible, such as hidden nuclear launch sites or secret biological warfare labs, to the outright bizarre, such as the late Phil Schneider's claims about the alleged Dulce base. Before his death in 1996, Phil Schneider claimed that a secret underground base in Dulce, New Mexico was a joint venture between human beings and extraterrestrials. Schneider's claims were dismissed by the mainstream, and many UFO enthusiasts also doubted his reports. At this point, there's no solid proof that an underground base exists beneath Dulce. However, there are other proven underground facilities, including NORAD's Cheyenne Mountain Complex. The global scale of the Cold War spurred the construction of numerous hidden monitoring stations. Some of these, such as the Kelvedon Hatch secret nuclear bunker in Essex, have since been declassified. Others remain closely guarded secrets in the modern day. While there isn't any hard proof of more outrageous claims, such as secret alien weaponry labs, there are certainly secret contingency sites, such as the Raven Rock Mountain Complex in Pennsylvania. Raven Rock is occasionally called the Underground Pentagon, and it is legally considered part of the Pentagon Reservation. While alleged U.S. bases often garner the most public attention, it's certain that Russia, China, many EU members, and more have underground bases dedicated to everything from contingency planning to communication interception. While many of these have been decommissioned or remain open secrets, meaning that a government hasn't explicitly acknowledged the existence of a base despite strong circumstantial evidence indicating its presence, it is not only possible, but plausible that there are many more, carefully hidden from public scrutiny. And what exactly goes on at these bases? Top secret testing? Biological experimentation? Whatever it is, one thing's for sure, it's something they don't want you to know. But this is just the beginning. If you'd like to learn more about secret underground bases throughout the world, check out our audio podcast on StuffTheyDon'tWantYouToKnow.com.
Stuff they don't want you to know.com. I am not afraid to recommend information that you gather to be from wherever sources you get. Once again, I will say, discernment is not only key, but it's critical today. There is a massive amount of information now available, including the truth. It's surrounded by a lot of lies, and what you just heard in my little first episode on New Mexico Mysteries could ring as a lie to you, and that's okay. It may ring as the truth, or it might just be a map and a shovel to take you down a road to learn what about them subjects you really want to know. I focused on this particular area and subject because in the state of New Mexico, it appears that has been a massive funder of everything there is. The monies that have gone into technologies. I mean, for an example, you saw that right on mainstream media. There's tunnels below Los Alamos. You saw the map that shows that, there's a very old highway system, and I'm pretty sure that that's very much outdated, and there are many, many more ways of traveling below the surface and, rolling around to the electrics that are coming. Wouldn't it be nice to just sit in a comfortable little train car and go to New York and have lunch and then come back all in like an hour and a half period on free energy? I mean, these are the kind of things I'm pretty aware of. There are people on this planet that do enjoy these luxuries, and whether you believe it or not, that's it's not intended to be your truth. It's a shovel, it's a map. I don't know about this free spoke yet. I just turned it on for the first time. I do know a lot of things that I used to be able to find easily on Google, I cannot find anymore. Even DuckDuckGo, I'm having some situations with I'm looking for the older videos in a lot of cases because, I paid attention throughout my life, and, that's what made me become a conspiracy theorist, is that, I'd go, well, what about this? Oh, that's a conspiracy, a word created by the CIA. And it just gave everybody the, oh, I'm okay with looking the other way. And, disclosure, what's really necessary for us to move forward is not that you have to see all the horrible truth of what's happened. What has to happen is every bit of it needs to be available to you to find. So that when somebody says this happened and you say, no, it didn't, there's got to be this place where we all can go, and I know how they're going to roll that out, and click and talk or whatever you want to do regarding the subject, and the information that comes out will be God's word. It will be the truth. And, people are going to say, I don't believe they could ever do that to another human being. Well, you're going to be given the proof first in a script. You can read it. That way you can stop wherever you want. Okay, I believe. Put it away. You don't have to see anymore. And then there'll be those that say, no, I have to see it. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a warning. The things I've seen, you don't want to see. And you can't unsee them. And videos, even if they're not real, once you see them, they're there. And so be careful with that kind of information that is available and will become more available for those people that won't stop with, okay, I get it. We've been horrible. Let's just not ever do that again. And that's what it's all about. We need to see what's happened, how we were involved. I don't care if you believe in reincarnation. I don't care if you're a saint right now. If you're like my truth, you've been all over this realm of frequencies, and you've been horrible, and you've been the best anyone could be. So, you've gathered the wisdom and knowledge that an immortal spiritual being gets to gather in a three-dimensional, controlled, systematic, what turned into a prison planet for a very long time. The prison keepers are gone. The guards, they don't know it. They're still guarding the prisoners. They're still doing everything they can to keep us from getting out. That's only a matter of time. We're getting out. Some of us already are. But you have to know you're there before you look for the keys. So the important part of disclosure, regardless of the subject, because there's 1,000 different subject matters, I just happened to pick this one because it has a lot to do with New Mexico, and that's where I am. I don't doubt that you could pick any one of the 50 states and start doing some diving and find out, wow, there's a lot going on down there. As above, so below. Well, oftentimes it might be, it's the truth, but maybe not in the way we think. So anyway, that I think is about all I have for this first Sunday live stream. with, I don't know, I think I might have about 2 weeks of trying to figure all this out, and hopefully I've not made a complete fool of myself. Go through things, guys, in a benevolent way to present information and what you believe. And I guess that with that in mind, I don't have anything more to say. I don't have no chats. It was nice to hear old. Well, I started, just so you know, I started to do Jimi Hendrix first, but then Teddy popped into my mind, and that's why I started the show off with the national anthem. He's got a great show. I hope you check it out. Anyway, it is about 1:15. I am going to get on out of here, go take my wife's electric bike down and get some mirrors for it, and have lunch and enjoy my afternoon. Good day, namaste, God bless, and have a great day.